Well, hello and welcome back to my own Mr. Pelargonium channel. I have to say that I've not done a video probably on this channel for a couple of months. If you follow me on the Pelargonium and Geranium Society's YouTube channel, you will see that I've been very busy since my return from California, where I did a lecture to the geranium conference in California in San Diego. Since I've been back, I have not had a spare second, and mainly because I'm editor of the Pelargonium and Geranium Society magazine. That took up a lot of time, and it's been a monumental number of plants that I've had to pot up in my grass house at this time of year. So I've just been so busy. There's been a lot going on, all sorts of stuff going on in the greenhouse. Now, I think I've mentioned on the Pelargonium and Geranium Society channel that we have had a very cool spring. I'm filming this on Friday the 21st of April. We had a lovely sunny day yesterday, albeit with a very cold wind. Today it's turned very damp and wet again, and for the next week is meant to be really cool, apparently. And I have to confess I'm getting a little bit sick of it because I've got so many plants now. Some of my big plants, which I can show you down here, I need to get outside. All these plants need moving outside. Some of my larger standards, I mean, some of these big boys, they all need getting outside. That's my Denjo Tinto Mara that's grown on massively. Got a huge standard of scented leaf variety. I think that's Candy Dancer, actually. I've been calling that Fern Mint, but I've actually found out it's Candy Dancer. I obviously mislabeled it, but not to worry. As long as you correct, that's the main thing, that you always correct incorrect names at some point. Now, all my show stock is growing away, but it's a little bit behind. I mean, we got a few older leaves which just need stripping out of one or two of these. That's my Shriven and Pearl. That is about the only regal that I've got in a 6-inch pot that I would say is probably about where I would want it to be at this stage in sort of mid to late April, with about 7 or 8 weeks to go to show. I think it's 8. I think it's 8 tomorrow to the show. So yeah, that's about the only one. I mean, that is way too small, but it's Sophia Pope, always a late developer, that one. Very much late in developing into a fully grown plant. Now, you've seen a lot of things that I've been up to on the Pelargonium and Geranium Society channel. Potted up this large standard cactus flowered variety. But you can see I can barely get down the glass house now. I did mention in my last video for the Pelargonium and Geranium Society, I got rid of a sort of stuck out bench that I had sort of based on two really big pots. And I've actually made a little bit more room for myself, primarily because I needed more room to get a great line of standards in, particularly during the winter. But a lot of these will be going outside during the summer to free up space. But just at the moment, as I said, it is so cool, we can't even consider getting plants outside at this point. And down this end of my glass house, I've got loads and loads of really big plants that all will eventually be going outside. They all need going outside. Some of these really big sort of over potted plants here, or when I say over potted, the plants are too big for the pots. They all need potting on, and I've been trying to pot on a great number of them over the last couple of weeks. Another reason why I've been so busy. But stuff is growing away despite the coolness, and I do wonder actually whether the plants are putting on a lot of green growth, primarily because it is relatively cool, rather than them being scorched, which of course they were done so last spring when it was non-stop sunshine. Very different this year. I've got some standards. I mean, this is almost certainly going to get to the show. I'm hopeful anyway. It's actually started throwing a bit of bloom, which I need to strip off. That's in a 12-inch clay pot. It's a Butterfly Brian West. I've got a Rushmore Tom Kirkland, this one. That's that one in the distance. That was a newly named plant by the breeder, Steve Pollard, but that's got a name now. But that's doing fairly well, and I'm hopeful I may get that to the show as well. Now, I've got a few others. Standards, my large Phyllis is putting on a decent bit of growth now. I've shown that on 1 or 2 occasions during the winter. On the Pelargonium and Geranium Society channel, I think. May have also mentioned it on this channel previously. But that's growing away. That's in, again, a 12-inch clay pot right down the bottom there. But that's growing well, I have to say. It's growing away. There is a lot of older leaves that are all stripped off during the winter, because during the winter you keep it bone dry. These unique scentids you need to keep bone dry during the winter. But I've just started up in the watering on them a bit, feeding them with a balanced feed just to really get them growing. And that's doing okay. Whether that will make a show, I mean, the biggest problem with this plant will be the transportation of it, because that is 5 foot, probably in excess of 5 foot tall. Converting that to centimetres, 1 metre 20, is it? No, probably more than that. 1 metre 40 maybe. I'm trying to think how tall I am. I'm 6'3", and I think I'm 193 centimetres. Anyway, it's around 5 foot. Convert it yourself on the internet to get the meterage of it. But it's very tall. I think this is still a little bit gappy. I think it needs a little bit more development before I would say that's good enough to be a show plant. Next to it, Berry Zest Standard. That's bushing out quite nicely. And I have actually gone over to feeding that with a high potash feed, because angels will flop if you don't firm them up a bit, and a high potash feed will just tense up that stem growth a bit. Get rid of that dying leaf off that young standard. This is Sammy Browham. I'm hopeful of getting that to show in future years. Very young at the moment. It's only just getting up to height. It's about 2 foot or 60 centimetres tall, so it's growing on quite nicely. All over there, my newly bred Regals from last year. I'm going to start naming those soon. This is Osborne, one of my sort of multi-stem standards. You can see it all curled round, look there, all curling round the stake that's holding it up, and that's something that I'm particularly getting into at the moment. Multi-stem standards, bit like my Tintomara, my Odenjo Tintomara, the gold leaf one up the back there that I just showed you earlier. So there we are. It's a little bit of a quick look round this glass house. I did mention that I am actually doing a trial of various composts, both peat-free and peat-containing composts of various mixes. Everything now that I put up, and here's a newly potted up Regal that I've just done actually, and that'll have a label in. I will talk more about that on the Pelargonium and Geranium Society at some point. But we're all in the UK. We're being... we'll say we're being sort of forced down a peat-free route. I'll leave it at that. The nurseries and nurserymen don't exactly like it, but I think they're having to adapt. So I'm doing a few tests on various different types of compost, and I'll tell you all about that, as I've said, in the Pelargonium Geranium Society channel. Quite a few Regals. I've got large Regals here. I think that's Delhi. Delhi grows very well for me, very strong. That's almost holding itself up. I've only got a very small stake in that one, but it's got a very thick stem. So that's doing okay. Now, this one is the one that I've had for quite a number of years now. It's a Steve Pollard hybrid, basic zonal. And I'm thinking again that I may get that to the show. The problem is the height. It's as tall as the Phyllis, 5 foot plus. It's going to end up being a very big plant. It's actually started throwing a little bit of bloom, but I have taken a couple off in the last few days. But again, you know, the stem on it, I would say, is getting on for 1 inch thick. It's huge. But I'm very pleased with that. That's done very well since I trained it as a standard, so I'm very happy with that one. We've got, this is the variegated form of Mr. Wren. And have I got the original name on it? No, I haven't. It was found on a Norwegian nursery, but that always grows very well, grows very strongly. Got the first bloom, look, Mr. Wren bloom. Really quite nice. I like that one. But it is very, very leggy. It grows very leggy. I'm growing it this as a standard now, but but the one thing that I do like about it is that it's very stable. The bicolour, the colour variation of the leaves is very stable, and the colour of the bloom is very stable as well. Very typical Mr. Wren. I always found with the green leaf version of it that the blooms always went the solid brick red, and I could never keep them stable, but the variegated form is superb. So there we are. That's just about it. A little look round my glass house for the in-betweening of my Pelargonium and Geranium Society videos. Here's another multi-stem standard that I'm growing. That's a Steve Pollard hybrid, particularly like this one. Lovely single variety. Unnamed, it's not named yet. I don't know whether Steve's given that a name. I don't think he has, but I particularly like that one. So I thought anyway, it's about time I did a little video to show you a few things that are going on in my glass house. But it's that time of year where that I don't particularly like, because all I want to do now is get a lot of stuff outside. So we'll have to see how it develops. So there we are. That's about wraps it up. I like to keep these videos relatively short, so that I can get them out without too much in the way of editing. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.